It's
Hello,
recording.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's session. This is Fausto Pulpo, Senior Educational Consultant at Anthology. And today we're going to see how to create and set up tests in Learn Ultra. Okay, so this is a typical Learn Ultra course. And as you can see, everything really is created directly within the course content page, which is what we're looking at right now. Whenever you want to create something, here we have three sample learning modules, which are the primary container, let's say, that you want to use in order to provide a structure for your course. You just have to click on one of them, and then you will see the different options. Oh, there they are. Okay, we have some content here. And all you need to do in order to create something is go to the specific position where you want it to be placed. You see the whole line is going to turn purple, and you will see this plus sign only also. And then just click anywhere on the purple line. Then here you will find the different options. You want to click on Create, and then you get three categories: course content items, assessment instruments. Here we find tests. That's the first option and what we're going to be creating today. And then we have some participation and engagement tools. Now, if you want to use question banks for your test, you can find, we'll be right back here in a moment. You can find your question banks here on the right in the Details and Actions menu. It's the last item. And in order to see existing question banks or create, import, or generate new ones, all you need to do is click on Manage Banks. From here, okay, here I have a couple of banks that I imported from a Learn Original course. Okay, so if you already have tests and question banks in Learn Original, it is very easy to copy those, bring them into your Ultra course and reuse them. We should have enough time at the end to show you how to do that. And if you click on the plus sign, you can create a new one from scratch, import them from a file that you may have exported from another Learn course, could be Ultra or Original, or a file that has been provided by a publisher. Sometimes they do that. Also, you could import from a package that was exported in a different LMS, such as Moodle, for instance, because QTI is a standard that is, or protocol that is shared by multiple LMSs. 2.1 is like the current version. Or you could use the AI Design Assistant to generate one. So let us do that. Whenever you want to use the AI Design Assistant, you have two ways to prompt the AI. One of them is to provide a description, learning objectives, topic, etc. Or you could select course items, okay, any type of content or file from your course. Here I have a brief description of what is covered in that module. You could do a combination of both, but I'm just going to use the description here. This is a course about ancient Egypt, actually. Then you can generate different types of questions. Essay, fill in the blank, jumbled sentence, matching, multiple choice, and true false. Now, normally for a question bank, I like to choose just one type. If you leave it at Inspire Me, it's going to give you a combination. But since students are going to be faced with questions selected at random from the pool, you want them all to be at the same level of complexity. You know, an essay question can take a lot more time than a true-false questions, for instance. So I'm going to leave it there, increase the level of complexity just a little bit. And I can generate up to 20 questions at a time. I'm going to generate 10. In case you're wondering what the level of complexity is, it's how deeply the AI design assistant will dive into your topic, and you can use this to adjust it in order to match the level of your course contents. Right? You can generate multiple times until it looks just right. Under advanced options, okay, you can change the output language. So if you're teaching a foreign language class, then that would be very useful. The default, however, is American English, and I'm going to go ahead and generate my 10 multiple choice questions. If you need more than 20 questions, then you can repeat this process more than once, and then when selecting, you select more than one bank, and they will behave as one larger question bank. All right, so now remember, please, this is auto-generated content and it needs to be checked for accuracy and bias. That's why there is no option to select all, because you do want to take a look at each one. Okay, here I'm just going to go ahead and select all 10 of them. So we have plenty of material to work with. Just, okay, number 9 and number 10. I will add those to the question bank. And now it's going to be saved as generated bank and then the date. So, of course, you want to give it a more meaningful name. If you had different question types, you can also use, okay, a filter here to use only the ones that you want. Okay, now that we have a question bank about this topic, let's go back to our course content page. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions at any time, please feel free to ask, okay? You can use the chat or you can raise your hand and then unmute your microphone. So I'm going to click here, module 2, right at the beginning, and then create. From here, I'm going to select test. And as you can see, especially if you're not familiar with Ultra, it is very user-friendly, highly visual, and things are really easy to find. Here, you have the title or name. Let's call this one sample test. So here you will find the content area, the settings area, and then you have a few more tabs. Student submissions, we don't have any right now. Student activity, which will show you some analytics and data about your students' progress and performance. And then you have question analytics, and this one is also very useful because once your students have taken the test, this will help you double check and confirm whether all of your questions were at the intended level of difficulty or whether some of the questions were easier than average so that more than 70% of your students got them right, or they may have been more challenging than anticipated. That's if less than 30% of the students got them right. So you can get statistics about the test as an instrument and about individual questions again. Once again, in order to add an element, all you need to do is click on the plus sign. And we have a few options. We could automatically generate questions here, and I will demo that in a moment. Add a question pool or question bank, and that's exactly what I'm going to do in a moment. You can manually create questions of the different types available, or upload questions from a file directly onto your test, or even add text. Now, if you want to provide instructions or maybe an example of a specific question type, etc. Also, page breaks. Should your test, okay, have different sections, this one here can be quite useful. So I'm going to go ahead and add a question pool. Now I will see all of the sources that are available. I have, under sources, I have proper question banks, and I can also reuse questions from previous tests as well, if I want to. I'm going to select Demo Bank. I'm going to select all of them. And as you can see, 10 questions will be added. Add those to the test. And now here I have my question pool. Out of the 10 questions, how many do I want to show? How many do I want to show students? Let's say 5, which will be picked randomly from the bank. And here I can set the point value for each one of the questions there. Let's say each one is worth 10 points. Next step, save. And we have the first section of our test. So if you have a test that's covering different subjects or topics, you may want to create and or generate one separate question pool or question bank for each topic. In that way, you can control exactly how many questions students get about each topic. Also, if you want to use different types of questions like matching or essay or true, false, etc., then you may want to create a question bank with questions of that specific type. In that way, you can make sure that all of your students are facing the exact same conditions, or at least very similar conditions. All right, so as you can see, I already have 50 maximum points that students can get, okay, if they get all of the questions right. If you want to check them out, you can view the questions here. So if you change your mind, all you need to do, as always in Ultra, to see what options are available for something is look for the 3 dots on the right. Here you have an ellipsis next to each question, and if I click on it, I could edit it. Okay. I could provide automated feedback. I could add or delete options. I could allow partial and negative credit. As you can see, everything can be edited. And also, if you're using goals, this is where you want to do the alignment. So you can align that question with one or more goals from your program, course, institution, etc. For assignments, I prefer to do the alignment with goals at the criterion level when using a rubric. And for tests, I prefer to do it at the individual question level because I'll just click on a couple of them. Okay, because in that way, you know how different questions could be aligned with different goals. So that gives you a lot more flexibility. And then you get this icon here that indicates that there's being an alignment. You can also manually add questions to an existing bank. Okay, so there you have that part. If you want to add instructions, all you need to do is above your question bank, click on plus, add text, and provide instructions, examples, context, etc. Just don't forget to save it. Now you can keep adding questions. Just click on plus. And now for the sake of time, I'm going to automatically generate questions directly, okay, on to the test. First, click here, auto-generate questions, paste instructions or the description of this module. In this module, we will cover the political history of the Old Kingdom and First Intermediate Period, etc. Now I'm going to use the Inspire Me option to show you different types of questions Adjust the level of difficulty just one notch. I will generate 10 and then I will select only some of them, okay? Generate. Now, unlike a question bank, these questions will be added to the test directly. So let's give it a moment. Okay, so here I have a fill in the blanks, true, false. Okay. Now, for essay questions, you will see an example of a correct response. Sorry. This example is for your eyes only. Students will not see it. The idea is for you to have an example or a clear idea of what an answer should look like at this complexity level. Okay, so you have something to compare it with. But students will not be able to see this, of course. Okay, here we have a matching question. I'll add those 5 to my test. That is a good way also in which you can become familiar with the different question types. However, if you're working on Ultra anywhere in your course and you want to get or have access to examples, screenshots, tutorials, more information, additional resources about the specific element that you happen to be working on. Right now, we're building a test. So all I need to do is click on the help icon, bottom right corner of the screen, question mark, Blackboard support, and make sure you click on Blackboard help. That'll take you to our help page or a help page that is specific to questions. How to create tests. You can see you get detailed step-by-step instructions, including video, screenshots, etc. Oh, sorry about the language. For some reason, okay, it's loading. Let me switch to English here. There you go, how to create a test. Here you have a video about the new test page. Okay, here you have detailed instructions, step by step. Okay, you can also add files from cloud storage, and there is a link. More on adding questions, more on adding question pools, more on reusing questions and assessment content, and so forth. Okay, availability conditions, pretty much everything you need to know, including the settings, which we're going to explore in a moment. So if you're okay, there's a question. Can you auto-generate math problems for tests? Yeah, it's just a matter of prompting the AI and telling it what specifically you needed. Remember, you can use the description fields, or you could select part of your course content, which could be a file, could be an Ultra document, etc., and tell the AI design assistant to use it as a source. So you can use it for just about any subject. Okay, hope that helps. And remember, as always with AI, the more specific your prompts, the more likely your results are to look like exactly what you had in mind. Okay, I was answering Patty's question on the chat there.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so now you can change the individual point value. Like maybe this one can be 15 points, and you can see this is going to update automatically as you save your changes. 69 maximum points. This one probably you want it to be 20 points because it's an essay question. And so forth, right? This one here could be 10 points. I'm just doing this rather randomly. How many do I have? 88. Okay. Okay, and I can save that one. For the final, okay, for this question here, 10 points. And this final question, another 10 points. Let us not forget to save. And I have 105 maximum points here. Okay, maybe we can give this one like 5 more points. So we round it up to 110. Okay, so here we have our questions, and now let me show you the different options. One thing you can do, okay, if you want to access the different settings that are available, just click on the 3 dots to the right. You can duplicate the question if you want to have a slightly different question, align with a goal, or edit this one. Now here, by default, partial and negative credit are allowed. So correct answer, there are 5 options. Each correct option will give you 20% of this point value, and each negative answer will deduct 20%. Students will know, okay, when this option is available, partial and negative credit, then that information will be visible to students. So they always know all the conditions that they are subjected to. Now, what happens if you get everything wrong? You're not going to get, you're going to get a negative score for this question, but it is not going to affect or have an impact on the overall score. Let's say they get a -15 because they got it all wrong. They are not going to get those 15 points deducted from their overall test grade unless you allow negative overall score, and you control this for each individual question. So if you do this and they get a negative point value for a question, then that negative point value will affect their overall grade. I would normally reserve that for like very high stakes, highly competitive tests or something like that. But of course, it is available to you, okay? And you can set it for each individual question. If you make any changes, do not forget to save your changes. Also, if you want to provide automated feedback, which is usually a good idea, just enable that feature. Put in your feedback here. Another possibility that you have, let's go to the last question, this one here. So as you can see, we have a maximum point value here of 105. I thought I had added a few more points. Okay, let's add a few more points to this one. I want to have 110. Okay, 110. So, which is a little odd, you might think. But that is because for my last question, what I want to do is click on the 3 dots, go to Edit, and make it into an extra credit question. Okay? Now, when you do that, okay, students will know that this is an extra credit question. That information will be visible, plus they will be able to see this icon here. And our maximum point value goes back to 100. That is the official score that they can get. So you may want to use perhaps an essay question as your extra credit, okay, if that makes more sense. But as I said before, information is always available to everybody. Okay, and now you can keep building your test, adding questions, reusing questions, generating questions, you name it, whatever you need. Now, let us go to the settings that are available. To access settings in Learn Ultra, all you need to do is look for the little gear icon and click on it. And for tests, we have quite a few options. First one, of course, is a due date. So let's say the due date is tomorrow by the end of the day. No, not tomorrow, Friday, October the 17th by the end of the day. Or you also have the no due date option. Now, if it were a formative quiz or something, then you could have a no due date as an option. Prohibit late submissions and prohibit new attempts after the due date. And they mean different things. If you prohibit late submissions, you see that this one is selected automatically whenever you select this one. So you cannot have this one without the second, but you can have the second without the first. So what are they? Prohibit late submissions means that any in-progress attempt will be submitted automatically, saved, progress will be saved up until that moment, and it will be submitted automatically, which means that if a student started taking the test at 11:55, well, they'll have a little less than 5 minutes, because right at 11:59 p.m., whatever progress they have made will be saved and the test will be submitted. The second option says prohibit new attempts after the due date, which means that students cannot start a new attempt after this time, but any in-progress attempts will continue as usual until they finish the test or until they run out of time. I'll show you how to adjust the timer in a moment as well. All right, so another option that is available for tests, assignments, documents, and almost everything in your course is class conversations. A class conversation looks and works like a discussion forum. I love to use them especially for assignments, because that gives students a tool, a space in which they can ask and answer questions. You can answer their questions and everybody will have access to that. So for any frequently asked questions, that is ideal. But also they will be able to cooperate, share resources, ideas, etc. For assignments, I think it works really well. For tests, I'd rather not have my students get too cooperative, really. So I would not really enable this feature for tests. But then again, if it's a formative test, maybe it's a good idea. Presentation options. How should students be able to navigate the test? By default, they will be able to see all questions on the page, and then they can, on the screen, and they can scroll down to the next question. That is one option. Useful, especially when you're going to have different sections. However, personally, I prefer to display one question at a time. I feel it lets students focus more specifically on the one question that they are looking at that moment. Now, if you do that, you need to decide whether you want to prohibit backtracking. Normally, I wouldn't, because a very common, and I would say even spontaneous, test-taking strategy in general is to first answer the questions that you find easier to answer, and then go back and take your time answering the questions that you found a bit more challenging. If you prohibit backtracking, however, that will not be possible. Nevertheless, that information will also be visible to your students. Do you want to randomize questions? Probably yes. That will not, of course, affect the questions in your question bank because they'll be randomized anyways, but it will affect the other questions. Randomized answers, also usually a good idea. However, if you do that, you want to make sure that you don't have options like all of the above or none of the above, because if you're randomizing answers in multiple choice questions, you have no idea in which order the different options will appear. I don't have any page breaks, so the randomized pages option is not available. If I did, I would be able to. However, if the first page contains like instructions, I would select this option here, so that the first page, the very first page, does not get randomized. Okay, so they always see the instructions first. Is this formative or summative? By default, all tests and assignments are considered summative unless you indicate otherwise. If you select or if you click on formative assessment, then by default, the formative label will be visible to students. Now, will this automatically exclude this grade from any grade calculations? No, it will not. You will have to do that on the grade book. And even though that is related to a slightly different topic, I will show you later on how to do that. Okay, so let's say this is a formative test. So it really shouldn't have an impact on the student's overall grade calculation. That is the case. By clicking here, I am flagging it as formative. I'm letting students know that it's formative. And then on the gradebook overall calculation options, I will remove it from the calculation. I'll show you how to do that a bit later on. Grading and submissions. Okay, first of all, what is the grade category? The default will be test, could also be an exam, could also be a quiz, could be something else. You can always create additional custom grade categories from the gradebook when you go to the options menu. There are no functional questions among quizzes, exams, and tests. They are grade categories are basically there for you to more easily group items together, items of the same type, in order to calculate the overall grade score for the course. So I'm going to leave it at test. How many attempts should students have? By default, it'll be 1, but you can give them as many as you want, all the way up to unlimited attempt. If you select more than 1, now you need to indicate which attempt should be graded. Or, in other words, which attempt grade should be considered. By default, it'll be the last attempt. Okay, but what if on the first attempt they got a higher grade? You click there, you can see you could also select the first attempt. But in that case, what if they got a higher grade on the second attempt? So obviously the most popular option is all attempts. And now you have another question to answer. What if you're going to be grading all of the attempts, how should the grade be calculated, the final grade for this test? By default, the highest grade, that usually makes students very happy, could be the average, which is fair, could be the lowest. I don't think many people will be willing to take a second shot at the test. But then again, you never know. So let's say the highest. How do you want the grade to be displayed to students? Points is the default, but it could be as a percentage, letter, or any grade schema that you want. Also, when you go to the settings section of a gradebook, you have the ability to create custom grade schemas as well. All right, you can't edit the maximum points because they are based on the actual questions. But should you want to implement anonymous grading, which would make sense if you have mainly or only essay questions, you need to disable this option to post assessment grades automatically. Remember, posting a grade in Learn Ultra means making it visible to the students and available to the system. If you're going to be grading manually and a grade is posted, as soon as you finish grading an essay question, then you would inevitably know whose test it is. So if I disable this option, now I can hide students' names. Okay? At some institutions, that is a policy, just to ensure an almost complete absence of bias. You could also delegate grading. Okay, again, if you have essay questions that need to be graded manually, and if you have a large class and you have people who can assist you with that. If you enable it, however, you have to have graders enrolled in your class. And for that, well, that depends on your institution, right? They have to create that role or grant that role to these people. And then if you assign graders, okay, then you want to create a group set. I don't have any graders or groups in this sample course, but those are the two things that you need. You need group sets and you need graders, and then you can assign graders to specific groups of students. All right. Assessment grades will be posted automatically unless you disable this option for tests. For assignments and everything else, grades are posted manually, unless, of course, you enable this feature. The idea there, or the rationale there, is for you to finish grading everything before students have access to their submissions, their grades, feedback, scores, etc. But of course, it is completely up to you. Assessment results. Okay, this one here also is interesting. You can decide whether and if students will be able to see or view their submissions, which means basically the questions and their answers. A submission view means they will be able to see the questions and what they answered, but they will not see whether their answers were right or wrong, or how many points they got, or anything else. Just the submission. So by default, it would be available right after they submit. However, you have more options. After the individual grade is posted, or after the due date, if you want to make it more secure, let's say, or after all grades are posted. What if a student missed the test and you gave them an extension, for example? Well, nobody will be able to see their submissions until that has been graded and posted. Nevertheless, what if you have automatic zeros enabled? Then they will get a zero, the zero will be posted, and then people will have access. That's why you could also select a specific date. So if you select a date, maybe a couple days after the due date, then you have enough time to see whether someone needs an additional attempt or something, and you can prevent people from having access to their own attempts until everybody has submitted and all submissions have been verified and created. So, or it could also be, this is a recently added option, one time only. So, okay, I can see my submission once. It's like one of those pictures that you can send through some text messaging services that can be only viewed once. Okay, same concept here. For this demo, however, I'm going to select after submission because I will simulate taking a test to show you what it looks like to the student and what the grading looks like to the instructor. Automated feedback if provided. Okay, you could disable it also. Again, similar set of options after submission, after due date, after all grades are posted, or on a specific date, which is always the safest option. Show question scores. Again, when should they be able to see scores they got on each question? And finally, do you want students to see the correct answers? If the answer is yes, you need to enable that feature and indicate when. Okay, and you want to be extra careful here. I'm going to go for after individual grade is posted for the purpose of this demo, but you probably want to wait until all grades are posted, or even better, a specific date. Don't forget to save your settings. Okay, just let me make sure show question scores after individual grade is posted. Okay, everything's. Let us continue. Assessment security. You can generate an access code, which is pretty much a password that you can refresh at any time. You can copy and paste it, and share it with your students, of course. So if you want to maximize security, then and share the code only with the people who happen to be in the classroom on their own devices or at the computer lab. And then as soon as they access, you can refresh the password so other people cannot get in. Okay, that is an option. Another one is to restrict the location from which they can or cannot access. However, for this to be enabled, it needs to be configured by someone, by your system admin or someone in your IT department. So you would need to coordinate this previously with your supervisor. Additional tools. Time limit. By default, it'll be 60 minutes, but of course you can change it. Now, what should happen when students run out of time? By default, their work will be saved automatically and submitted when they run out of time. Okay, so that is the default option. However, the other option is to give students extra time to work after time limit expires. When the initial time expires, tell students that work submitted after the initial time limit may receive partial credit. Well, that's up to you. It is more work, though, and normally I do not use this option because whatever time limit was originally decided is usually part of the overall design. Plus, if a student has special needs and requires more time, you can always give them an accommodation and give that specific student additional time. Okay? If you want to know how to grant accommodations, let me know. Okay, and if we have a few minutes left at the end, I can show you how to do that. Don't forget to save your changes. And let's continue. Goals and standards. Even though you could align the whole test, just like you can align a whole assignment with one or more goals, normally it is much more, you get a much more accurate picture when you align the goals with the questions as I showed you earlier on. So even though you could, I would only do that if every single question on my test is actually aligned with the same objective or goal or set of goals, which is sometimes unlikely, not impossible, I guess. Okay, timed assignments cannot be timed assessments like tests cannot be assigned to groups. There is a way to do that if you're interested, but for that you need more than one, you need multiple release, you have to play or adjust the release conditions, and then you can make it available and visible to just one group of students, for instance. And if you have essay questions, you may want to enable the originality report, safe assign. Then you can provide a description to briefly tell your students what you're going to be testing or what topics the test is going to cover, etc. You have up to 750 characters for your description. And once you're done, don't forget to save. Okay. You have added a question that requires manual grading. Here you have a link to review grade post settings. Remember, posting a grade means making it visible. We already dealt with that. Now, under release conditions, I'm going to make it visible to students so I can demo to you how to grade that essay question and what the test looks like to student. However, even though you cannot assign a test or a quiz or an exam to a group from the settings, you can use the release conditions and make the test available to specific course members or groups. Okay, so there's a workaround for that. I'm going to make it visible though. Sample test. And let me make sure that module 2 is also visible to students. And now I will go to student preview, which is right up here on the right. Okay, as a student, I'll go to that module, have my sample test here. Okay, I don't need the contents page. So I have the description, all the details, assessment due date and time, time limit, automatic submission, new attempts will not be allowed after the due date, and submissions will not be accepted after the due date. This is a formative assessment. Maximum point value is 100. There's an extra credit available, 25 points. And there are 2 attempts left. So let's start the first attempt. Start the timer. Remember, I selected one question at a time. So that's what I'm going to see. First instructions. So if you introduce a text element, it will be displayed as if it were a question also. I have a progress bar, a reminder of how many questions are remaining, and a timer with how much time I have left. If I don't like to be constantly reminded of how much time I have left, I can always hide it and then unhide it from time to time. We'll continue. And now I have my different questions. I'm just going to click on things randomly here. So chances are I'm going to do really, really badly on this test. Now I can continue. If I'm not sure about this one, I can skip it. Could simply continue to the next one or escape to the next, to the last, the first, previous. I have a whole navigation toolbar here. I can also filter, so it shows me only questions that I haven't answered yet, or only extra credit questions. or only essay questions? So now I can continue to take my test. Here's an example of a scrambled sentence. This is fill in the blanks. I'll skip it. I can clear my selection if I change my mind. Usually not a good idea unless you're quite sure, actually. I'm going to skip the... Okay, I'm going to write just... Right. Okay, that would be my essay question. And as you can see, the student has access to all the tools. They can attach files if they need to, add images or anything they need, really. And I'm going to submit. Okay, I have 4 questions that I have not yet answered, but since I know that maybe there's a negative score, I say, well, rather not gamble, I'll submit it. Students will get a confirmation message. They will also get this on their email. Just got the email, actually. They can download this for the records only. Confirmation number is unique to each attempt. So if they opt for a second attempt, they will get a second confirmation number, which is useful when they have a question or a complaint or whatever about a specific attempt, where they can share that receipt or confirmation number with you, and then you can paste it on the gradebook and look for it directly. Well, I could start my second attempt. It hasn't been graded yet. Question scores available after individual grade is posted. Submission view available now. Correct answer available after individual grade is posted. So I'm going to exit and save this so I can show you how to grade it. Let me refresh this. Okay, I don't even need to look inside the module because if there is something that needs my attention, I can use the overview of a gradebook. Here, there's one item that needs my attention. I go to the overview, and it is right here. Grade now. I can filter by student or by question. Okay, so I can see what they did here. All of these were graded automatically. It's only the essay question that I need to grade manually. Okay, so I'll give them 10 out of 20. Also, from here, I can give them specific feedback about one of their answers. Just like I can give them overall feedback for the whole test as well. Just don't forget to save your feedback. If I find that I made a little mistake with one of the questions, maybe, oh my goodness, this was not properly covered or the question was not accurate, then I can click on the 3 dots for that question, click on edit and regrade. Said, well, it's not their fault. So this topic shouldn't have been there. So I'll give full credit to everyone. Just don't forget to save your choice. That will update, sorry, all of the grades that have been affected, for better or for worse. Okay, now I finished grading, so it was posted automatically. My student will be able to see their score, correct answers, and everything that I enabled. This is a receipt number for this attempt. And if I want to see additional options, click on the 3 dots. I could overwrite the final grade. I could exclude this attempt if it was made by mistake, maybe, or I could delete it altogether. Remember, here I am focusing. I can also provide feedback, and I can also filter by questions. Okay. Okay, all statuses. So I can check how each question did. I only have 1 student attempt so far. Or I can focus on just the questions that need grading. All right. All right. See, I have one submission. Okay, nothing to grade. It's been posted. My other students have not yet started an attempt. Grading all attempts calculates final grade. Now, remember that I told you that it is possible through accommodations to grant one specific student additional time. All you need to do, you can do that from the student's view of the gradebook. Okay, or from the roster. The roster is found under details and actions here on the right. Nina Hagen, as you can see, she's got a purple icon next to her name, which means that she has been granted accommodations. So let's see what accommodations she has. Let's click on the three dots, accommodations, and there are two types, due date and time limit. So you can grant the time limit accommodations. Maybe she's got a condition affecting her eyesight and she needs 50% more time than her classmates. This will affect everything in your course, but then again, you can always withdraw the accommodation after she has taken the test. Okay, just don't forget to save your accommodations. Also, as I showed you, this was a formative test, and if you do not want it to affect the overall grade, all you need to do is go to the gradebook, click on grades to see the overall grade calculation. I would click on that icon to edit it. Go to tests as a category. I can open it by clicking this icon that looks like an upside down pyramid, sort of. This is my sample test. If I don't want it to be part of a calculation because it is formative, all I need to do is click on this icon here, the circle with the diagonal line across it. Now, okay, only one is being used. Okay, this is a one that is being used. Okay, I only have one grade now, so okay, I should not drop any scores. I only have one right now. In case you're wondering about, I know there's a spoiler alert on the gradebook session, but it is closely related. If you have more than one item, you can always drop. You need to click on Edit Calculation Rules and enable that. And here I will be dropping the lowest of the two. Now, that information will also be visible to your students. Do you have any questions? Let me show you how to generate questions based on course content. So let's see here. I am going to click on Upload. Okay, it's not math content, but here I have a PDF about the potential of artificial intelligence in education. Let's say that's part of my course content. Could be hidden from students or visible, it doesn't matter. So now if I want to, I can click on Manage Banks plus auto-generate, select course items. I could select more than one item, of course. Question type, complexity level, number of questions, and generate. That's a good question, Katie. Let me finish this first. Good. Okay. So as you can see, again, this is auto-generated content and it needs to be checked for accuracy and bias. You select the ones you want to use. Okay, and then you want to give it a name that is easy to identify. Regarding tools to prevent cheating, the one that is included with Learn Ultra is Safe Assign. So if they use Google and copy paste, then that'll be detected. However, if you want something more comprehensive, there are many third-party solutions, okay, that can be integrated into the platform. Like they include a browser lockdown or the ability to control their webcam or the like. There are many very specific tools for that. Many institutions have them. So at a basic level for Google, to find answers, if they copy paste, Safe Assign will do the trick. But if you want something more comprehensive, then or like then it is possible to integrate. So here, all you do is go to the settings of your test, scroll down, and enable Safe Assign, and allow students to view the Safe Assign report. That usually works really well. Just don't forget to save your changes. Also, if you need to copy, remember here, let's go to question banks. I'll delete these two, which I copied earlier. If you want to reuse questions, tests, question banks, etc., from another course, all you need to do is anywhere on the course content page, click there, then on copy content, find the course from which you want to copy. You could copy multiple items from multiple courses. Go to tests if you want to copy tests, or go to question banks if you want to copy question banks, and then start the copy process. And now those two sources will be available for you to use on your own tests. Okay, Katie, I hope I answered your question. Do we have any other questions? Now, one thing that usually works pretty well, and which, in order to make it less likely for students to be able to get away with having an AI tool simply writing the answer for them, is to ask them to maybe provide an example or an extended example based on their own personal context. For instance, If you make it more personal, then it is probably more difficult to prompt the AI than it would be to simply answer the question. And even in prompting the AI, they would probably be forced to learn indirectly because they would be thinking harder about the topic. So even before the invention of AI, I've been teaching for a little over 30 years now. The more you can have them base their answers on their own personal context, it usually helps with that. Okay, we still have a few minutes left. Any questions? Could be about tests, question banks, or anything ultra, really.
If there aren't any other questions, then I think we're good to end here then.
All right. Well then, thank you very much. I hope you found today's session useful and see you next time.
Thank
Thank you,
you so
Tara.
much. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, thank
You too.
you.